Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to Trip Talks. This is the show where I interview successful e commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today I'm really excited to welcome Justin Fenchel to the show. Justin is the co founder and CEO of BeatBox Beverages. BeatBox is an 11.1% wine based party punch in eco-friendly portable Tetra Pak containers. And today I'm going to ask Justin a few questions about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategies and tactics that he has used to start and grow his business. So thank you so much for joining me today at Trip Talks, Justin. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me. Always love telling our story.
So beautiful background, and it also says 11.1% ABU. So I definitely want to know. I mean, very unique idea to have kind of like this punch with this wine mixture. How did you come up with the idea? What's the backstory? And was there a product already something to this in the market, or this is like a completely new idea?
Yeah, we had no experience in the alcohol industry when we started this, other than being consumers. What we saw was, in my background, I was an econ major and I was an equity analyst, trading stocks for about 5 years in my early 20s. And then I went to business school at the University of Texas in McCombs. And while I was transitioning there, had the idea with one of my best friends, and now the co-founder, Brad, basically seeing what was going on in the box wine space. So box wine was becoming very popular in the millennial, and now Gen Z demographic. People were bringing the boxes to tailgates, to the beach, to kickball games. You were seeing it everywhere. And it was typically Franzia or some boring box wine. And at the same time, we were also drinking less beer and moving towards alternatives like, there was Bud Light Lime-A-Ritas and Smirnoff Ice and Mike's Hard Lemonade and Twisted Tea. And people were moving away from beer towards more flavors, but no one had taken the fun flavors and done it in the box packaging. And the box packaging was eco-friendly, it was portable, it was fun, it was like all these things. So we said, okay, well, why not do that? And then the third piece of it was, what is the brand going to be? And I am obsessed with music festivals. Our whole founding team loves music. And to me, if the world was more like, I don't know if you've ever been to a music festival, but when you're out there and there's 100,000 people and no one's asking who you voted for, no one cares what race, religion, sexual identity you are. It's just people there having an amazing time with old friends, meeting new friends. And if the world could be more like that moment, we wouldn't have all of these issues we're having. And so that was like the essence of the brand we wanted to create. So now we had this idea and this brand ethos, and then we had to figure out how to do it. And so we just went lean startup. There was 5 of us originally, 5 original co-founders, and 4 of us were at the business school, and then Brad, who was helping. And we just went the lean startup model. We emptied out Franzia bags, filled them up with vodka, Crystal Light, and food coloring, and went to different parties. We crowdsourced a logo and box designs. I mean, for like less than $2,000, we had like a logo and box designs, and we were able to bring different mixes to parties and see what people thought and get validation beyond just our own thoughts. And people went nuts for it. I mean, trying to give us $20 bills to buy these things off of us. And so that gave us the confidence to put in our own money. We put in $55,000, the 5 of us, to go out and make it. And we learned we wanted to be a vodka base originally. We learned we couldn't do that with the size we wanted to be. And so we found this wine that tasted like a vodka. So we became this wine-based punch, but always it was about creating nostalgic, fun flavors. We weren't trying to be like a margarita or a sangria or a mimosa or something. We wanted to be like blue raspberry and fruit punch and pink lemonade, these really nostalgic classic flavors that are instantly recognizable. And we were able to do that with this wine base, and then figured out how to make it ourselves in Austin. We had an 800 square foot facility in Austin. It looked like a scene out of Breaking Bad, but we were able to get product out into the market. And then, things started to take a life of their own. We got picked up by a distributor. And then we went on Shark Tank to raise money. So that's kind of the background on the brand and how we got going.
I mean, it's a great validation when people are willing to pay you, right? When you put the product in front of the people and they're they're actually willing to put money, take money out of their pockets. When you went to these parties, like, did you go just like, did you pitch the idea that this is a new product that we have come up with, try it out and give us feedback that you like it or not, or was it really
Yeah.
just, you put it out there and people were like, yes, this seems like a great thing.
Yeah, so we picked a few different like types of parties we knew that this product could probably do well in. So, in my apartment complex, there was a pool. And so we had 5 different boxes and they were different flavors, they were different alcohol contents. And we went and just kind of said, oh, we're doing this, we have this idea, we're looking at this and come by. And then we'd say, why don't you go to the one that you think looks the coolest? And they'd go and they'd pick whichever design they thought looked the coolest. And then it was like, okay, why did you pick that one? And you're getting feedback. And then, all right, go back to the one you think tastes the best. And okay, why did you choose that one? And then people would say, oh, like, I like that it was higher alcohol, or I like that I love blue raspberry drinks. Like, and blue raspberry kept coming up as people were like, oh, I love blue raspberry. So then it was like, okay, that's going to be our first flavor. And you learn so much, and it costs us a few $100s, right? I think a lot of times, and I learned this from my past experience where we put in money before we knew that anybody even wanted it. So the idea is to figure out quickly for as cheaply as possible if people actually want this that aren't your friends and your family. So that was the goal, right? And I think that was the way for us to do it. And then we did a kickball game and same thing. And then we curated the house party where we said, hey, come on over. We want to try out these new drinks that we're thinking about making. So all of those gave us, you find the consistencies in the feedback, and that helps you develop the product.
I want to talk a little bit about the fact that you have 5 co-founders. I mean, a lot of the times when you talk to founders and investors, working with co-founders is considered, either you have great relationship with your co-founder, or sometimes those relationships don't work, right? And it's hard enough to work with just one co-founder. I'm interested to know how is it that you came with like 5 people? Did everybody make the same kind of investment? And like how do you make sure that everybody's vision is the same, and one person is not saying that I want out because I'm not aligned to what you're doing, or things like that?
Yeah, so our situation was we had 5 original. 2 of them we knew were going to be taking full-time jobs after the business school. So we kind of structured it in a certain way, knowing that they were going to be moving on to full-time jobs. And then Amy and I and Brad have stayed on since we graduated in 2013. Now, you're right, like there's lots of horror stories about founders and all that. I think with me, Brad, and Amy, it's amazing. Like with Brad, I've been best friends since we were 13 years old. Amy, been best friends since, for 10 years. I think it's not easy to do. It's a rare thing for us, but we are very collaborative. Like we always are syncing up. No one is like, none of us will do anything of any significant importance until the 3 of us are totally aligned on what we want to do in terms of the vision and how we want to structure things. Now we'll disagree and we'll have good discussions, but like ultimately, like we have each other's backs, and we just been it's been an amazing relationship for the 3 of us that is definitely not normal in a lot of companies that I know about.
So what is it about your business that you think now has made you successful? Because I'm assuming that creating a similar product is not as difficult. Somebody can take your idea and create a similar product or a similar kind of an idea. What do you think that you and your team have been able to do that have allowed you to be successful and scale the business?
So I think there's a few things. One was knowing when you needed to pivot quickly, right? So like we launched the big box. It was 5 liters. It was $20 to $25. We went on Shark Tank with that, which was a rare, unique thing. But with that, we expanded, and we quickly realized that we couldn't scale the big box because it was too expensive. It was confusing, and it was going to take a lot of money with consumer education, right? And so we knew we needed to develop a single serve product. So developing the single serve was totally game changing for us because that was $3.99, less than $5 to get to try it. And when we launched that, and then also learning the alcohol industry where I can't sell online to you. I can't be on the street and sell you it. I can't even sell direct to a store. It all has to go through a distributor. And there's different kinds of distributors. There's wine and spirits distributors, and then there's distributors that sell mostly beer. The wine and spirits distributors are selling very expensive cases of whiskeys and fine wines, and they're selling to restaurants and liquor stores, but they are not selling very much to 7-Eleven, Circle K, because that's very much beer and low-end wine. So when we launched the single serve, our distributor wasn't the best fit for that product. We were with wine and spirits distributors. So we actually switched throughout 2018 to the beer distributors. And that was, so that was step one. You have to figure out the right product and the right distribution, right? Like no matter what you are in, if you're selling online, you better figure out the right product and the right channels you're selling online, whether that's Amazon, your own website, or winning affiliate programs. So but once we got that and we're like, okay, this is the right product and this is the right distribution. We were seeing it. We were getting more stores. Then I think the other advantage that we have, really though, we're never going to outspend any of the big companies. Anybody, to your point, can put any kind of liquid in a box. Like that's not a competitive advantage, right? The advantage is the community and the authenticity and the brand, right? Why does someone buy BeatBox and then why do they go back to it? And so what a large company couldn't recreate is now coming up on 7 or 8 years of authentic consumer marketing. And that's everything from Shark Tank to the music festivals we sponsored, to all the tastings we've done, to telling our story, to people engaging with the brand. You cannot just recreate that by putting something on shelves. And so that's, I kind of equate it to, I remember in 2005, I was doing a study abroad in the Prague, Czech Republic, and I went to an event that Red Bull had put on. Now, Red Bull was still very new to the US in 2005, but they were big in Europe. And they had an event called Red Bull Crash the Ice. And it was downhill speed ice skating. And they were falling over. And it was like crazy. And everyone was lined up. People were going nuts. It was packed all around. And, there was nothing about Red Bull other than it was the Red Bull Crash the Ice. And then you drink a Red Bull and you're like, I don't even own ice skates. And I feel like I could skate down this thing right now because I'm so energized. And it was like this aspirational lifestyle experience that solidified wanting to be a Red Bull drinker. And I think with BeatBox, we are creating those moments where people are having meetups at music festivals because they're connected through our Discord. And they're sharing stories about how BeatBox was so cool and it created this amazing moment for them. And then the product, it's got a good alcohol percentage. It's tastes delicious. It's portable. You can reseal it and dance with it. It's eco-friendly. So the product backs up all of the things that the brand message says. And that's when you really have created something special, where people are supporting you so much more than just because of the product that they're carrying.
So when you started out, because as you said, you couldn't sell it through regular channels, you had to go through the distributor route. What was the first success where you were able to persuade a distributor to take the risk on this product? And did you, in the manufacturing, mass manufacturing of it, can you share a little bit about, how did you initially fund? Did every founder put a certain amount of money that was enough to create the initial batch of products and to go to market?
So we wanted to, originally the plan was to find a co-manufacturer, a co-packer to make it. And then we were going to take it into the state of Texas and we were going to sell. This is how naive we were. We were like, we're going to have someone make it. They're going to send it to us personally, and we'll go send it to stores. And we went to the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission, me and Amy, when we were interning for BeatBox in the summer. And we said, here's our plan. And they said, are you out of your mind? You can't do that. That's illegal. You need a distributor. And we were like, well, what's a distributor? We had no idea. And so we're learning and we're figuring out, okay, who's distributors, all this. What we were able to figure, and no distributor would talk to us because we didn't even have a product, right? So there was one solution we found, which was if we became a winery in the state of Texas, that allowed us to self-distribute as a winery. And that's why we made our little 800 square foot facility, to actually be able to make it so we could drive it around town in our cars and sell it directly to accounts. And we were legally allowed to do that as a winery. We did that for a period of time. And then we were actually, this is the benefits of like an institution like University of Texas and the network you are a part of. We presented on behalf of the entrepreneurship program for the University of Texas, because we were like having a real startup, to a bunch of big alumni and donors to the school. And when we were done, someone came up to us and said, "Hey, I think I can help you out." And that person was Alan Dreeben, who it was the owner of Republic National Distribution Company, the biggest wine and spirits distributor in the state of Texas. They were the second biggest in the country. And that was our first break, where we had enough traction from doing it ourselves that when we met with him and his team, they gave us a shot. Now, as far as the money put in, we did not all put in equally. We all put in different amounts. Again, there was two guys that we knew were going to be taking full-time jobs, so they would put in less than the people that were going to be full-time on it. And then that was enough to get our facility and make the first round of BeatBox, the $55,000. We put in $55,000, all five of us, in different amounts. And then we went to our friends and family. So we actually raised like $15,000 on an Indiegogo campaign, and we were able to get another $100,000 through a couple family members and some friends. And so that was the first funding. And then when we got with the distributor and we started launch, then we started to try and raise money around town. So we started talking to angels and seed investors and venture capital firms. And during all of that, we got approved for Shark Tank. And so that ended up being our big seed round. But, we're fortunate. I know not everybody has the access to 100 grand from friends and family, but that was what got us the first start. And, for us, it was, how far can we get before we have to take an outside check? Because if we just went to an angel investor and said, we're trying to raise money and we have this idea, they're going to say you're out of your mind, or they're going to want half the company. Yeah. But if you have a product, you have a distributor, you have a manufacturer, you have a store that's selling it and selling well, like now you've de-risked a lot of it. And when you get a check, you can ask for a bigger valuation to dilute you less for your first step.
And once you had your product distributed, did you I'm sure you'd have to do some marketing to get your product known and adopted in the market. But at what point did you know, was it a complete success? People started buying it right away, or what was that process like of
in the alcohol industry, they call it, well, in any consumer packaged goods, sips to lips is the most important thing you can do, meaning people trying it, right? Because especially with the first box, it was $20. And if you didn't know what it was, you're not going to spend $20 on something that you've never tried. What if you don't like it? So we stood in stores every weekend for pretty much the first 2 years that we had product. Thursday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if they let us, for 3 to 6 hours every single weekend, posting up in like a grocery store or a convenience store and giving out samples and selling boxes. And that's the level it takes to get and eventually you can't be everywhere. I can't do a sampling at 1,000 accounts, but when you're getting going and you're trying to build that community, that's how you got to do it. And so we did that time and time again. And it was a good way. Like we had I don't know if you're familiar with HEB, is the grocery chain here in Texas, but like that was our first grocery store we got into. And so by doing all these tastings right away, they were seeing really good sales data. So then they would give us more opportunities. But yeah, that was the first we did. And then once we got the money from Mark on Shark, we got to deal with Mark Cuban on Shark Tank. Then we started to think about where we wanted to do a little bit more marketing. whether it's music events, digital, we were always digital forward. We always did Instagram before people were on Instagram. We did Snapchat before they're on that. We were on TikTok before. So we're always forward that way. But it was a lot of just in the store.
And yeah, I definitely want to know a bit more about your Shark Tank experience. And so to me, it seems like the fundraising that you did at Shark Tank, and of course the celebrity power of Mark Cuban was really around marketing and getting people to know about your brand and getting the eyeballs. Can you share a little bit about your Shark Tank experience? How did you get the opportunity? What's the experience like? And what is it like working with Mark Cuban?
Yeah, so when we were doing tastings in stores and doing all these samplings, people would say, you should go on Shark Tank, as if you just like go down to Sony Picture Studios and get on the show, right? But we ended up applying. We hit it from every angle. We tweeted at all the sharks. We went on LinkedIn to find anybody that was connected to the producers and asked for intros. We submitted the application, and eventually they got back to us and said, we're going to be coming to Austin to look at tech companies, to look at companies in Austin. So you should do the tryout. And so we went to the tryout and waited 2 hours and did our 30-second elevator pitch, and they liked it a lot. And we were feeling good, but you never know. And then 3 weeks later, they said, you made it to the next round. And what that means is they've taken it from 80,000 companies to 800 companies. And so, that's a big cut. But then you get assigned with 2 producers, and each week you meet with the producer and you are telling them about the business. You're working on your pitch, and each week they say, this could be the last week. We'll let you know if we're going to continue the conversations. And this goes from basically end of February all the way till May. And then in May, they said, we're going to fly you to Los Angeles and you're going to film for the Sharks in June. And it's challenging, right? Because at this point, now we're in like early 2014. We had just got the distributor. We had just outsourced manufacturing. We're trying to like manage the business, and we're watching every episode, preparing for this crazy opportunity. And we're trying to figure out our money situation because we needed to raise money. That's like, we were past the point of using up everything we could from us and friends and family, but you can't raise money when you might be going on Shark Tank. So like, it was a whole balance. But anyway, we ended up going on the show, and it was very surreal. I mean, you feel like you're in an alternate universe in there because you've watched all these episodes and you've researched and studied everything. And now you're like in there, and it's like crazy, but we knew our stuff. We were very well prepared, and all of the sharks were interested. They all made offers. I mean, all they know is your name and your company name. They don't know anything else about your business when you go in there. And we were in there for about 45 minutes, maybe an hour. I don't know. We don't have no idea. But it felt like an hour, and walked out of there with a deal with Mark. And then there's tons of due diligence. So like all of the paperwork that we had filled out before Shark Tank, which was like 100 pages worth of documents, gets released to the Sharks and their team. And so then it was like 3 months of diligence. We closed in September, and then we aired in October. And yeah, I mean, when it really validated us, because there was a lot of doubters. Every step of the way, people have said, you're absolutely nuts for starting this company, because it's like, it's not normal. It's like a very unique product, and didn't have any experience, and people are like, this will never work. And so when Mark Cuban on national TV gives you $1 million investment, values you at $3 million when you've done 200,000 in sales, that was like all the validation that we needed, that this is the real deal. And so that was great. It was like a real stamp of approval. And then, yeah, like our distributor was like, we want to sell this everywhere. And Walmart wanted us. But then you think like, okay, we've made it. And then you do all of that. And we launched in 25 states, and we got into like 500 Walmarts, and we failed. We went way too far, way too fast. And we wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for the power of that show. But at the same time, that show allowed us to raise money the next round because people wanted to invest in us, because Mark Cuban was invested in us. And so it allowed us to kind of pivot. So it was a crazy experience all around, ups and downs, and but it's all worked out.
So I guess, the value of Shark Tank is it's very much above and beyond just the investment, because the kind of preparation that you did, I mean, you could have with that preparation gone to, angel investors or other sources of funding and probably, successful in raising those funds. But the kind of other opportunities, the eyeballs, and the new opportunities that just the exposure, television exposure, and the celebrity power of Mark, was able to do, you wouldn't have been received the same kind of things if you were going on your own, like with an angel investor or something.
Yeah, no, there's no way. So yeah, it was super powerful for that. And we're actually getting we're getting an update tomorrow night, which would be September 30th. I don't know when this will be posted, but we have an update tomorrow night in the main episode, so you'll have to check
Okay,
it out.
cool. So how long have you been working with Mark, and what is it like? Do you still speak with him? Is he still, giving you advice and things like this? Or how do you, like, what is the working relationship?
Yeah,
And what
so
have you, like, what have you learned from Mark, or what have you really gained out of the relationship?
so right after we were on Shark Tank, a couple months later, we met with Mark for like 2 hours, even before the deal was closed, and started to build out some strategies. He went and did events with us in Austin and Indiana, like over the course of 2015 and 16. He would we'd ask him, and he would do it, which was pretty amazing. And we would update him every week and get feedback. In 2017, his brother joined our board of directors, Jeff Cuban.
Hmm.
Jeff runs all of Mark's entertainment properties, and Jeff, we built a wonderful relationship with Jeff, and we talk all the time. And so, with Mark, I think he's seen so many companies and seen so many things go right and so many go wrong, that he kind of knows quickly, like, he can synthesize your 7-paragraph email into like 2 bullet points that he'll write back.
Hmm.
And I think the most important thing that he is, outside of the funding and some inventory financing and other things, but the message of focus, right? Because especially coming out of Shark Tank, everybody in the world is hitting you up, and the amount of shiny objects there are. And even if you're not on Shark Tank, when you're an entrepreneur, everything's a shiny object, and you want to do everything,
Hmm.
but you cannot do everything. You have to be super focused. You have limited time, limited resources. And even if you'd say to Mark, like, oh, well, this won't be that expensive, or he's like, it takes time, and you don't have enough time.
Hmm.
So that was the biggest lesson that we got drilled into us from Mark.
Awesome. In terms of marketing, can you share a little bit about how has your marketing evolved since you started focusing more on the marketing side of things? What are the kind of things that really help you to drive these products off the shelf from stores?
So there's 2 different types of marketing that we do, right? There's trade marketing, which is the marketing we do in the store, right? So you walk into a gas station, you walk into a liquor store, you see signage, you see this, right? You're used to that. That's the trade marketing.
Hmm.
Then there's the field marketing we do, which is we're out at the music festivals, and we're out at the music venues, and all the stuff you're doing in the field. So with trade marketing, for us, what's really worked is we developed this a shipper that holds 5 cases, and it takes up the size of a sheet of paper in the store. So when you go into these stores, they're always really cramped and they're really crowded. So store managers and owners, they're like, I don't have enough space. So we created something that allowed us to get something on the floor that took up almost no space, and that was very easy for our distributor to execute upon. And that was like fundamentally game changing for us when we found the right piece of trade marketing. So that was a big one there. And then of course we do like suction cup racks where you'll see in the cooler doors, and we do posters and stickers. So we do all that stuff. Field marketing, we're at music festivals. That's like our bread and butter. That's where the product was born, like our love of music festivals. And so we're going to do over 100 music festivals this year alone. And it's, when someone drinks a BeatBox in the middle of a field with all of their friends, and they're having the time of their life, then they go home and they want to recreate those moments. And so
Mm.
they're trying to find beatbox and they're sharing it with their friends and they're rewatching the festival on YouTube and reliving those experiences. Like it's amazing. And so that's really where we do it. And then on digital, we're big on digital. We do a lot with because people don't want to hear from brands how cool the brand is. No one wants to hear us say that beatbox is the best thing ever. What they want to hear is the people that they look up to and they respect to say it's cool, right? Like whether that's their friend or an influencer in their community or someone that is doing something cool on a YouTube channel, like all of those things, we try and empower those people to tell their communities that beatbox is awesome.
How did COVID impact your business? Because it seems like, you know, either your business boomed because most people were home and they wanted more alcohol, or it's kind of like it really put a damper on the business because
So for us we were very fortunate. Alcohol was deemed essential. And it's funny when you look at the numbers out, there wasn't necessarily more alcohol consumed in that period of time, but all of the money that would normally be spent at bars and restaurants and
Mm,
those places was shifted to your home, which made it feel like people were buying way more alcohol, right? Because you can't
mm,
go to the concert, so you're
mm,
having a concert at home. So if you would have bought all that alcohol at the concert, now you're just buying it for your house. And all of our sales at the time were mostly focused in the off premise, meaning gas stations, grocery stores, liquor stores.
mm,
So there was a lot of people that were discovering our brand because they were going to their local convenience store and getting back home, right?
mm,
And so that was like, and then we did a lot of things. Obviously we couldn't do music festivals, so that was tough because we had all these plans for music festivals. But we took all of that budget and we funneled it into online to throw digital house parties and run contests for how do you beat boring at home, right? Because it's like
mm,
everyone's bored. Like let's do like just trying to keep the fun in it all. And
mm.
so we ended up, it was very, very tough for March and April and parts of May. But as things started to slowly open up in May of 2020, we saw things really go well for us because we were great for going to the park. We were great for going to the beach. We were great for the picnic or the barbecue or the small, social bubble get together. We were a
Mm.
great product for that.
Are you mostly in the US right now? And do you have plans to maybe expand to the South America or Europe? Because they're also, I guess, from a party perspective, probably great places where people, there's a party culture, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a party everywhere in the world, I'll tell you. But we're US right now, although we are just launching Canada. So we're going to be in Canada here soon, and then we do have the setup for Europe.
Mm,
But again, it comes down to focus. We are still only in 10% of the wine license accounts in the US.
mm,
So we got a long way to go to ramp up in the US before we start taking on going worldwide. But we are very excited about the long-term prospects of international because beatbox and music are not just a thing for the US. Music connects everybody globally. And Tetra Pak, the packaging, is actually bigger in Europe and parts of the world than it is in the US.
mm.
So people are more used to that packaging and it's very flexible. You can manufacture it in different parts of the world. And so there's a lot of opportunities. And I like to say, from the beaches of Brazil to the warehouse parties in Manchester, like beatbox can be enjoyed and people can share these amazing experiences and life moments around our product, which would be really, really cool one day.
Was it difficult to come to Canada? Because I think liquor is a lot more. I mean, I believe it's solely handled by the government, and I assume there's a lot more
Yes.
regulations and stuff.
So you're right. In Ontario, there's the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, and there you can only buy liquor through the LCBO stores in Ontario.
Yeah.
We actually we're launching in British Columbia,
Okay.
where there is still government control, but there's also a lot of private businesses. So we're starting there, and then we're going to move our way. I think we got approval for a flavor or two for the summer for the LCBO. So that'll bring us from British Columbia, and we'll do Alberta, which is all private, and then we'll make our way to the Ontario market.
Can you share a little bit about your team? What does your team look like, and what are the like different uh, business areas that you have your team working in?
Yeah, well, it's changed a lot. It changes every day. We, 3 years ago we had 15 people, and now we have over 80. So
Well,
we've grown a lot. We've grown a ton. We've hired 40 people in the last, I think, 7 or 8 months. And so we have, obviously, on the sales side, we've got about 40 people that do sales, everything from the chain accounts to the feet on the street to data analysts. And then we have the marketing team, which is about almost 20 people now, and that's field marketing, trade marketing, digital marketing, social media, like all of that. We have the operations team. So we have everyone from quality control, working with our manufacturer, to logistics and handling all of the inbound of the raw materials, to the trucks that are going from our warehouse to the distributor warehouses. We manage all of the freight internally, which is a big endeavor. We have the finance. We finally now have a finance team. We had one person for a while. Now we have four. And then we also just a year ago hired a full-time head of people and HR. So we have an HR now. We have two people in the HR team, and they're developing the culture and dealing with problems from in the team, and it's awesome. And I think that's the most important thing for us, is building a great culture, because if you build a great culture, the rest is gonna take care of itself.
and what does it feel like, from, as you mentioned, initially you're the one going into the stores and, sharing the samples, to now, where your company has grown and you have a large team and you're managing a team. How have um, what has been the evolution process for you as an entrepreneur, going from, having this idea to now kind of managing this team, and how have you grown as an entrepreneur through this whole journey, and what are you focusing on now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a process, right? Because when you start, you're the company lawyer, you're the company salesperson, you're the company marketer, you're the company finance person, you're everything, right? With the manufacturer, we made it ourselves, then we would sell it and we would market it, right? um, and then as you grow, and we did that for a while, like 4 years, that was just us doing it until we finally started hiring people. Um, Now the role has shifted to really people management, right? Like fundraising for sure, and strategy, but it's people management and making sure that the team, like everyone's come from very successful careers, but oftentimes higher paying jobs in bigger companies to work here, and they're doing it because they want to be a part of something, and they love the excitement, they love the fast pace, they love the energy. It's making sure that the reasons that they came here, that they're still getting months into the job, right?
Hmm.
And so for me, like, I do one-on-ones with everybody on the sales team at least once every 3 months, oftentimes once every 2 months or once a month. And we check in. It's like, are you getting the things that you wanted out of this role? What can we work on, and getting feedback from the team and implementing that. So it's a lot of general overview strategy, and like just, but I'm not flying around, when needed. Yes, I go where I'm going to add value, but like the sales team is off and running. Like, I just need to make sure that they have the resources they need and that they're having a great time doing it, right? Like, let's work together on building out. When we grow from, we're going to do almost 40 million in revenue this year. 3 years ago, we did 4 million. So, we went from 4 to 40. Next year, we're looking at doing 70, but that's going to require new people. So it's like constantly breaking the wheel of saying, like, okay, what got you here won't get you there. And like, how do we think through that, and just working with the team and making sure that they're fired up.
Definitely. In every entrepreneur's journey, there's always some, mistakes made, failures, lessons learned. Looking back at your own journey, what would you say would be your, top uh, lessons learned, or mistakes or failures? What did you learn from it, and what can other entrepreneurs learn from your mistakes?
Yeah, I look, you're failing all the time as an entrepreneur, because you don't know, like, we anyone that says they know what they're talking about is just straight up lying to you. like we, we're even now, I tell our team, like, this is new for all of us. I've never led a company that's growing like this. Like, we're learning as we go. But the failures that you've had in the past, as long as they weren't catastrophic, if you're going to fail, which you will, you want to fail small and like, so that you can learn, because one big failure, it's over, right? And you don't want it to be over. So don't do anything that's going to like totally ruin it all. I think some of the big ones were, and again, like a lot of it just not knowing what you don't know, right? You have this uninformed optimism. We launched after Shark Tank. We probably should have hired a VP of sales right away, right? And someone that knew the space we were in. We didn't know to switch to the beer distributors, so it's like that was a mistake. But like, how do we know it? We probably should have had a smaller trial size. Like, the cost of entry for us was so high because it was $25 that like that's a pretty prohibitive price point when you're just creating a new product that no one knows what it is. So I wish we would have had a trial size earlier. I wish we would have had a team earlier. I probably wouldn't have given up 33% of the business on the seed round. That we gave $1 million for a third, and like not realizing how much more money we'd have to raise. I would have liked that to have been maybe 10 to 20%, just knowing how much more dilution there was going to be. So those are a few examples, but there's like every day there's something that like I wish, but again, that none of them were big enough to put us out of business. That's the key, because you're going to fail. That's no question about that.
Definitely. Now we're going to move on to our rapid fire segment. And in this segment, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you have to answer them maybe in one or two words or a sentence or so.
That's tough for me.
A book recommendation for entrepreneurs or business professionals?
Man, I'd say The Hard Thing About Hard Things or Shoe Dog.
Perfect. An innovative product or idea in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about?
I love what Celsius Energy is doing. They've been around for a little while, but they are killing it with the branding, the messaging, and like their distribution. Celsius Energy is growing really, really fast. Love what they're doing.
A business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend, or a productivity tip?
Slack. Slack has been game changing for us. Best tool we have. There's other ones, but that's the biggest.
A startup or business in e-commerce, retail, or tech that you think is currently doing great things, besides the one that you already mentioned?
Yeah. They wouldn't be as much of a startup. They're a big company now, but I would say in our space, Loverboy is doing great things. It's a hard tea. They're killing it.
Okay. A peer entrepreneur or business person whom you look up to, or someone who inspires you?
My dad started a company out of his garage 25, 30 years ago after he got let go from the bank, and he's grown it into a pretty large logistics business, really large logistics business. And I talk to him all the time. Very lucky that I still have him as a mentor. And that's the guy.
Do you mind naming the company or?
Quantico Logistics.
Okay. And final question, best business advice you ever received or you would give to other entrepreneurs?
The best business advice I received is, things are going to take 10 times longer. There's another book, 10X, but things are going to take 10 times longer than you think. Like you gotta, nothing happens overnight. Look, it's taken us 10 years to become an overnight sensation, right? So adding to that, my advice to anybody is, one, get quick feedback from not just your friends or your family to validate what you're trying to do. Do something that you are so passionate about, because it's going to be your life. You're going to be doing it every day. Don't do it just because you see dollar signs. That is, I did that once and it failed because I didn't like it. I was not passionate about it. And so you got to be in it. You got to be passionate about it. You got to validate it. And once you do that, just don't give up. As long as if you're getting enough feedback from customers that they love what you're giving them, it's going to be hard. It's going to suck. You're going to have sleepless nights. you're going to have amazing nights, but stick with it, because if you truly believe in it and people are responding to it, you gotta fight.
Perfect. Thank you, Justin. Those were all the questions that I had. Really, really appreciate your time today. You're sharing your story and all the business strategies and tactics with our audience. So yeah, thank you so much again for joining Trip Talk, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much. This was great.